Welcome back. Part 2 of can you put a Bosch pump with CAB injectors and does it work? Yes, it does, in a nutshell. Issues you're going to have, as I said in the first video, is your timing, the belt. This is an early engine that runs the older style belt, and I thought I could change all the pulleys, because this is the deeper pulley for the Bosch pump. It means your intervals for changing your belt go out further. I think these are 36,000 and these are 50,000. But I will forget, because I'm an old duffer, that I've changed it and I'll order a belt for this engine based on reg number, and they'll send me the belt for this engine, which will be the wrong belt. So I chose to basically, on the CAV pulley, you end up welding up those two holes. That one's not there anyway. Open out the hole in the middle to 32mm from 30, and basically I TIG welded them up, stuck it in the lathe, machined it all flat, opened the hole out in the middle, and then I, using the Bosch version of this, laid it on here, because this is obviously the CAB version, which is incorrect, with a blank in the middle to give it central, and I marked the holes, and then I stuck it on my rotary table on my mill and milled the slots. You don't have to mill slots, you could get the hole centers right and then file it or die grind it. But basically this allows me in the future, if this engine detonates, which is highly unlikely, but it might, I have a spare later block, perfectly usable block. I can put that pump back on with that pulley and put that engine in here, swap the manifolds over that, because it's got ERG on it and all the rest of it. I don't want any of that nonsense. So that's why I did it. And also, if you change your pulleys, if you go down the route of changing your pulleys to this one, you need your cam and crank pulley. The crank pulley runs in the bottom crank or front crank oil seal, so you're going to disturb all that. So you may end up having to change your front or oil seal, crank oil seal, because it may leak once you've disturbed things. And I didn't want to do that. For me, modifying my CAB pulley was by far the easiest option for me to keep everything pretty much stocked for ordering parts. So that's what I did, and it's been successful. I didn't video doing all the different operations. I'll go through some of the other mods I've had to do. I had one day to get it done. I needed it on the road. This has been off the road for 5 weeks in total by the time we gave up waiting for the pump parts to come back. I've left it open with the diesel pump specialist just in case the bits turn up somewhere at some point in the next few months, and I'll get my pump back and I'll put it on the shelf. When you run old stuff like this, having a stockpile of parts becomes essential. I just ordered a load of ball joints. I'm about to order a kingpin kit. There's nothing wrong with my kingpins, but there will be one day, and by that point they may not be available anymore. They're getting scarce now, so you end up with your own parts inventory. I had to modify the fuel cable. Your fuel feed and return is arse about face on the Bosch pump. The throttle linkage is slightly different. To get full travel, I've had to move things. I'll bring you in closer and I'll go through it with the torch so you can see what I've done. But basically, it starts on the button, it does what DIs do, and it works perfectly. We're not leaving smoke signals. We've got so much more torque. We work out of on top of a steep hill, and it's about a 2 mile long drag either way. And this chugs up it quite happily, 40 mile an hour in fourth gear, and you can put your foot down and it will keep pulling and start to pull away. It's no racehorse, never going to be, it's a DI, but it's got so much more go than it had. Not only was my pump leaking, it was very, very seriously unhappy. And you don't know that because it dies slowly, generally, and you just don't know. And you know these things are a bit flat compared to a modern one. So I'll move in a bit and go through what I've had to do on the pump. You wouldn't really know that it's got the wrong pump on it. I say we're not leaving smoke signals. Obviously this is a naturally aspirated non-turbo, so the only air going into the cylinders is what it sucks in on every intake stroke, and then you pour more fuel in. Well, of course you're going to get black smoke when it's working hard because you're dumping more fuel in, but it doesn't billow out any more black smoke than it ever did, but it pulls so much better. And going down a motorway at 60 mile an hour, put your foot down and it pulls away. Again, it doesn't go off like greased lightning, but it pulls away and wants to go. And you come to a hill and just open the throttle up and it pulls. Whereas before it was just making a lot of noise and just slowing down, and it was becoming undrivable. So huge improvement. So yes, it does work. Certainly for me it's worked. The other thing, the power steering, you forget how good power steering is. It's not over assisted, where you don't know where your front wheels are, and I find that in a lot of modern vehicles there's no feedback. it's just weighted beautifully. And manoeuvring, I had a trailer on the back of it the other day, fully loaded, truck fully loaded, and I was just palm steering, backing into a place. Just rather than wrestling with the steering wheel, it's just so much nicer. I've got a Class 1 HGV, I used to drive trucks, so I reverse on my mirrors, hence this has truck mirrors on it. They give me more, you know, so I can see more behind me. It's almost like being in a time machine. It's gone from 1987 to the mid-2000s. You know, for a bit of effort, and obviously when that box wears out, I can't adjust the free play out anymore, I'll send it in and have it overhauled. And that is an LDV convoy box with a Mark V forward power steering pump, and it works beautifully. So I'll rejig here and I'll go in on about what I've done on the fuel pump to make it all sort of work. Now on the fuel pump here on your throttle slide, you'll end up having to, I'll show you in a minute, turn the throttle bracket that holds the cable round the other way, because you need the maximum amount of cable travel you can get, and you have to move the little ball that sits there with my fingers pointing to there, which is closer to the pivot point and further back. It makes the throttle pedal very slightly heavier, but not to the point where it's, you know, you need a hydraulic leg to operate the throttle. It's fine. I've done about 300 miles on this now, and it's absolutely fine. But I now get full throttle travel, idle to maximum, which was important. Whether I'll ever need it, I don't know, but I now have it. So you can make this cable work, but I'll show you, I'll bring it round, I'll show you how the bracket has to be modified. This pipe here, on this engine, was a steel pipe that went down, right, you can't really see, it went down between the old CAV pump and down underneath, and on the Mark V, it's a rubber pipe. Well, this is the one that sprung a leak. So rather than having a steel pipe, because there's more room with a CAV pump, this ran down the back in there. Well, of course, I've had to rejig things a bit. I will redo this in due course. I just needed it on the road for now, and it's working fine. I had to lift the air intake by 20 mil, and I had to make a male and female adapter, so it would go in the bottom of the air intake and sit on top of the manifold with a rubber seal. No big deal. I will just, so I'll sort this out in due course. Right now I just needed to be on the road, but I'll come around again and I'll show you what I mean about the cable bracket. That bracket there, if I can get it, that there on my finger is the wrong way around. That was over here originally. So you take the cable out, turn it around, and I had to grind a bit off the bottom to get the angle right. But that, with the modification on the pump, which you might, if I can get the torch right, might be able to see that up there a bit better, is always required to get that to work correctly. And I've had to use a bit of silicone hose, you can't really see it, for my leak off pipe to go back to the fuel filter. It's the only bit I had to really alter. I managed to get my original feed and return pipes to wiggle around the correct way. Again, I didn't want to hack about too much, just in case. So that's it really. We did find that when I got it going, that my headlights wouldn't get brighter when you revved it up, and turns out the alternator is only kicking out 12.6 volts. So I've had to put a new alternator on as well. The other thing I would say is regards when you're doing your plumbing, your fuel injection pipes, I can't remember which one it is, whether it's 3 or 4. I think it's 3 and 4 are the opposite way around on the Bosch pump to the CAV pump. So I ended up using CAV pipes 3 and 4 because I could tweak them. They're longer, and I used Bosch 1 and 2. They were easy to tweak because on the Bosch injectors, the pipe is offset from the centre of the injector. So the pipes are slightly shorter, whereas on the CAV injectors, the pipes go right in. It's sort of centre line on the injector. They're slightly taller, and that worked out quite well. You just need to remember, I'm sure it's 3 and 4, but check it out. Don't rely on that from me. Check that out. It's fairly obvious, but it works. It's fine. The pipes fit. The nut size is different, but the actual thread is the same, and the pipe fitting is the same, so it swaps over. So other than your feed and return and tweaking your injector pipes, it goes pretty much straight on. So other than those few mods I've just shown you on your fuel line setup and the slight rejigging of your fuel feed and supply, get your teeth in, it works a treat. I didn't know whether this was going to work. There's a lot of stuff on the internet that says it does, and it turns out to be correct, and most of the information is correct. It's just the twiddly bits. You wouldn't know if that pipe wasn't there, that I will rejig at some point. You wouldn't know that pump's not meant to be on there, and it works brilliantly. So yeah, if you've got a DI with a CAV pump that's leaking, the chances are they won't be able to get some of the parts to fix your pump. You can put a Bosch pump on it, and you can still get your Bosch pumps overhauled. They seem to be readily available. So that's it for this video. I'm not going to start it up and fill the workshop full of smoke, because I want to go and do some work. But it starts, it's a standard DI, you turn the key and it fires straight up, hot or cold, just works perfectly, as it always did. I'm just now getting better metered fuel at the right time. I'm getting more power and torque out of it. So yeah, I hope that's of use to someone. Don't despair, you can convert it and it will work. We have videos coming up. We've got some work on some classic cars coming out, some bike stuff coming up. We'll be back on the RL. We've got some painting when the weather improves. So loads more stuff to come up in the next few months. So I'll say thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.